Okay, I think we are live now. Hello, everyone. I'm Sunil Kumar Das, welcoming you all to the show, the Sunil Show. On this podcast, we dive into the exciting world of IT and project management, from discussing product development, business analysis, project management, and the trending technologies in the market and human resources. We cover it all. Whether you are a seasoned professional or just starting out in the tech industry, this particular podcast is your go-to resource for practical insights, expert tips, and engaging discussions. Subscribe us on YouTube and join us on the Sunil Show for valuable knowledge and inspiration for which will help you to propel your career forward. Today, I'm excited to welcome our guest, Gajalakshmi Padmanabhan, to the show. Gaja, it's a great pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you so much for this introduction as well. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity, Sunil. I never expected I'm going to be like guest invited for such events. It's so honorable for me to address this gathering. Actually, it's so great. Thank you so much, Sunil.
That sounds good. Okay, so before we dive in, today we'll be discussing everything about project management and the basic things. How do we start? And being an entry level career, how and what are the different things that we need to take care? So, Gaja, before we dive into this one, could you share with our audience a bit about your background, your journey in the world of IT project management or your healthcare? So, your
Sure,
experience, something about it.
sure. So I'm Gaja. I'm in IT industry for nearly 16 plus years. I started like a mainframe developer and then moved on to a test lead, test manager, project lead, lead business analyst, product owner, like that, scrum master, project manager. It's like entire different roles. I've actually tasted those all those flavors. So when I being a project manager, it's easy for me to understand the pain points of others and things. And diving into these roles, I would say that it's a opportunity for me because I never asked for any new role change or anything. So there was a need in my company or my organization, they felt that we need someone to put in, then they just took me. And I just learned through practical insights, and I didn't stop with that being like just doing the practical job. Once I entered into the new job, being a business analyst, being a project manager, whatever it is, once I entered into and got the experience, I parallelly did my certifications on that, so that I wanted to know what is the background, or what, like, I wanted to learn it theoretically and apply it practically. So this is how my journey actually started, from a developer and till here this position. If I'm there, it is like a joint effort. My organization, the project managers, what to say, they felt that I will do the right job, and similarly I also maintained, or whatever, I kept up to whatever they expected. Yes, that's
The
how my journey
expectation.
is.
Yeah.
Yes. And
That's
I
fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, please
great.
continue.
Yes, and my spouse is actually working as a business analyst in Schneider Electric, and I'm blessed with two kids, age 4 and 6. So it's not only project management in office; it is like the project management at home as well. So it's like it goes crazy, but I like it. I like doing things which is challenging for me, and I like to put in new things. It's going good in a good pace, I would say.
Great to know about this one. So, see, the first thing is, as you mentioned, you started as a developer, then moved or climbed up the ladder. Yeah. So, I would like to go back and ask you one thing. When you started your career as a developer, right? There'll be some set of questions in your mind. What did you do to take care of your role, and to get into that job? And when you climbed up your ladder as a project manager, what suggestion you'll give to enter into the project management world if somebody would like, from their development background would like to come to this role. So what will be your thoughts for this one? What
Okay.
strategies, what tips you'll share?
Yeah, for me it is like, do your current role very diligently, because that will itself will actually make you recognized among the crowd. Okay. And the next one is, tell your aspirations also to your project manager, so that they will know like what are the opportunities that can be given. It is like from a developer cannot directly go into a project lead or project manager. It goes like a step by step process. So as you're on a developer role, put some extra 10% effort so that you can lead your development team first. In that way you can know how we can manage a little smaller team. And then when you do it well, your project manager will recognize your efforts and will give you some more opportunities to handle a little smaller team as a whole, not only the development, like a testing, like all teams together. So what I say is that diligently do your role, and don't hesitate to put in some extra efforts, because it's in a learning phase when you want to enter into a new role. See, when, as I told you,
Correct.
whenever an opportunity was given, even when I was a lead business analyst in my prior organization, there were two scrum masters in my team. And it was like, fortunately or unfortunately I would say, they had to be on a sick leave during the COVID situations. So I had to wear the scrum master hat and I have to manage my team. I took it by myself. And project manager,
Okay.
I mean, he was there. The not the project manager, the product manager. He was there. Like he felt okay. There is somebody who's giving me a helping hand, even when I didn't ask for. He felt that way. So it was not an easy job for me to handle dual roles. Okay, it was difficult. I spent, and it was work from home situation, so I spent 14 to 16 hours working. Okay, but I felt it as an opportunity for me to move into the next role. So like that I spent an extra efforts every time, and that is how my career has been shifted to this phase. Otherwise it's not, and just not getting into the practical, as I told you. Again, once I do that, then I did my safe scrum master certification also, to know what is all things that a scrum master should do, so that I can apply in my real practical job. So I have a place in hand, so that I can do things, or I can experiment things, I can play with my team, do things. Okay, in that way I don't say play with my team. My team is a very good supportive team, I would say. Maybe the way I'm handling, or the way they are working towards me, it is like a, always I love my team and my team does the same. Even when there is, sometimes they might have done some extra effort, I will feel hesitant to, there is some critical situations, assume there is a critical situation, then I will be a little hesitant. Hey, it's an odd time, how to contact them and do it. They will check the emails and they'll call me, hey Gajas, there is something problem happening, do we need to log in and resolve it out? That kind of support I get it from my team. So it is not an easy thing, but it goes just like that. Yeah. And this is, as to just conclude to your question, do your work diligently, show that you're more responsible towards what you've done, and take some additional responsibilities to show that yes, you're towards your aspiration, and whatever job is given to you, you can do it very well. If you give that confidence, it's easy to grab or move on to the next positions. You can, your work actually advocates to you, or to get the more opportunities, rather than you need not speak, your work and your dedication.
Correct. See, I would like to add something here. Definitely, when we are working something and you work as an individual contributor, then definitely you have to be a thorough on your own field, right? You have to have your technical skills, you have to have your theoretical skills. Whatever you learn, you have to apply simultaneously. That's the first thing. Second important thing, what we can conclude here is you every time you have to love your job. In case you need to spend some additional time, you have to, you shouldn't hesitate to do that, and that's when you and your work will be recognized. Second important thing here is always be curious towards your work, because when you work on something, and that's when as your situation, something definitely it's fortunate, it's not unfortunate, okay? And you loved stepping into that role and you took over, right? But here, one thing comes in my mind when we discuss about this is what about our interest level. But when we talk about the knowledge and the skills that one should possess, okay. So when we are working in the technical world and would like to move to a management role, okay, being a project manager, you have to oversee all the five phases, starting from initiation to the close. Yeah, it's not the same like you will be only working on a development team or you will be
Correct.
supporting or testing. Now moving or stepping from this phase to the another level, what sort of technical skills you would advise that to all the entry-level project managers that they must possess before getting into this role?
Okay. Yeah, got you. Yeah, first I actually second your thought saying love your job, because only when you love your job you will be not be actually hesitant to put in additional efforts to learn things. Yes, that's very true thing. Next one, when what are the skills that is required for a project manager to move in is like, definitely they should have. It is just like people think that project manager is easy, because sometimes people approach to me saying, hey, I done my scrum master certification, I want to jump into the scrum master role or project manager role. What's your experience? I would say, ask, they'd say just 6 plus years. See, when 6 plus years they wouldn't have handled a big team or things, they would have just performed their role. So this experience level is not much enough to dive into your project manager, because you should know how a project manager handles such a big team. And for example, like if there is some issues coming in, how your project manager handles, you should just put yourself in as a project manager shoe and think whether you can handle it out. And first of all,
Correct.
managing a larger project is really difficult. First they should try managing a small project, and they have to show their capabilities and gain the trust from both the team members as well as the trust from the senior management. So getting this trust and recognition will actually make them give them the courage to handle the larger projects. And again,
Correct.
as you told, it is like it's not an easy thing, because from the initiation they have to do planning, they have to do an execution, monitoring and controlling and closing. So there are many stages involved in this entire project management journey. It is, they have to definitely do some certification and get the technical knowledge, I would say, like how, what are the things that is required. See, project risks are there. First of all, they should know how the risk can come into the picture, like what type of risk can be there. They should be able to foresee those risks, and only then if they foresee the risk they can plan how they can mitigate those risks. If they don't even foresee
Correct.
those risks, again they will end up in the getting that risk as an issue in their project. And ultimately there will be a revised change in their scope and change in the timings. They'll not be able to meet within the budget as well. So all these you will get to know when you do your project management certification. So it is just it is again not all these certifications are not just for namesake. Just having certification as
Correct.
hand is not at all enough. That knowledge is really required. Okay, and forgot to say you, I'm actually a PMP mentor as well. Yeah. The project management mentor. So that it is not that reason I'm saying, because when I explain concepts to my team or to my students, I always tell with the examples, so that they actually have everything into their mind, and it is not just for theory purpose or not for exam purpose. So that is the reason I'm saying they should actually learn these as a, and they should get hands on in the like project management tools. They should do it, and only then they'll acquire that knowledge and they can do it in their real time projects.
Correct. So to summarize this one, when I would suggest, when somebody from the technical background, or say you've been working as a developer or a tester or something else, when you would like to move to the project management, please ensure you have a thorough understanding of what exactly this role is all about, you know, and with whom you will be working, what are all you will be doing. So when you understand these things, then the next step is to understand, go deeper into this one, because we'll have lot of areas, different knowledge areas we have where we should have our hands on, right? As you mentioned, until unless you foresee the risk, you won't be able to mitigate those, right? To understand what is, how to foresee or to have that vision, first you need to understand what is risk analysis, what is risk management, how do we do that,
Exactly.
and you need to understand different techniques from for that, right? What are the different documents you have to have? So just ensure whenever you would like to come to a project management, you understand all these things and start reading the free blogs that you have over the internet. Start, have a conversation with your senior project manager who you are working under, or your colleagues. Leverage your LinkedIn. That's one of the most awesome platform where you can build network. You can leverage others' knowledge, right? That's one. Okay. Now moving forward a little bit, it is very basic thing. You have you are working as a project manager now. Now, could you please simplify this particular term, project management? Because we all have different perspective on this one. Let's say I'm a new guy who would like to enter into this environment. Yeah, I don't know what is project management. I heard rumors. Now, how would you explain to me technically what is project management by giving some analogy from your real life experience?
Okay, okay. See, project management is nothing but, simply speaking, managing a project. What is a project? Project is nothing but it is like a task or a temporary task that you're doing it within the timelines. That is why it's temporary, because it will have a start date and it will have a definite end date. That is what is your project is. Okay, for
Correct.
example, maybe let me give you a real time example. For example, yeah, in my yoga school of yoga, where they had to conduct a annual day program, and that is typically a project because it has a
Correct.
it has a start date and end date. And for managing that project, what it needs to do, like, first of all, we have to identify who is the audience and identify what are the events we are going to plan, who are the who's going to compare that event, who's going to organize that event. Like that, there are n number of things that we have to plan and manage. And if suppose the chief guest doesn't arrive, what needs to be done? Okay, what is going to be the contingency plan for it? So if suppose the audience crowd is little more and we have arranged lunch, so what needs to be done as a backup if suppose the count? These are all nothing but project management. Okay, it is not that only
Correct.
IT projects typically fall into the project manager. Just to give you a real time thing, I'm explaining this because even I was responsible for there, and it was like I enjoyed doing that. See, that was just a complete 2 days had to be doing it. See, Monday to Fridays, it's a complete occupied day on a project, but still I spent efforts doing that because when you love that, no, your body or when your mind is stressful, you will not feel that stress at all. It will be feel like, okay, you're energizing when you take part in that events. So that is typically a project management. So it is nothing but when you compare it to your real life. So what happens, project management, it means that how you get started with. So first of all, you need to know how much resources is required. First, you need to assess how the team size that is required. Next, you have to identify the scope and plan for the resources. So all these encounters or encompasses in your project management.
Correct. Correct. Now, again, I would like to cite an example here. Let's say I'm working as a software developer. I would like to become a project manager, right? This particular goal that you would like to achieve, it is one of the project for you, right? Because
Mhm.
you would like to achieve something. Now, how do you manage this one? If you consider this as a project for your life, right? You would like to move from software development to project manager. That's the first thing. And you cannot sit on this for a longer time. You
Correct.
have to have, let's say, 6 months of time, down the line of 6 months, a year of time. You would like to move to this particular role. So, again, you have a deadline for this one. Now, budget. When you say budget, you need to subscribe to some of the channels. You need to subscribe to some of the blogs or the institution. You need to take some courses. That's when your investment is come to the picture. Yeah. So you have your goal, you have your objective for you have the resources, you have the budget, and importantly, you have the time. Sorry. So project is nothing but anything that you do in your life, everything we can consider as a project. As simple as that. Second important thing, how do we manage this one? By applying certain skills, certain knowledge, certain documentation, certain guidance, principles. When we combine everything, that's where we say we're managing a project, and you explained it very nicely. Thank you.
I
Now,
liked your
this
analogy
is
because from development to project manager, consider that itself as a project. So people will know, okay,
correct.
within this timeline, I have to become a project manager. So what are the steps? It's a beautiful thing so that people can apply it in their real life examples on it. Yeah, well done, well said.
Exactly. Yeah. So now moving to the second one, you know, when we are planning as an entry level project manager, when we are planning to move to project management, the second important is, finding, identifying the right course or identifying or learning the right skills, right? So now, could you highlight some of the soft skills that we as the project manager must possess?
Very true. It is like, definitely the soft skills is required not only for project manager, for other roles, but for project manager it's very crucial because they should have a very good communication skill. Communication in the sense, it doesn't mean that speaking alone. It is like even convincing or influencing them. That is really important because sometimes we might we might know want the others to take or abide by this decision, and that is where your influencing skill is required. You should be very good in handling the conflicts, because as a project manager, it is like everybody comes to you. If there is some conflict that's happening, comes to you, and you are the person who has to manage it such a way that it's a win-win in both the situations. Otherwise, if
Correct.
one people wins and other people, you will not get that bonding or the rapport between the team, right? So that is where I actually become a, I would say that my team is always I go with a win-win situation. Conflict handling, you should be good. And decision makings, like you need to take the decision at the right moment. You will not have much time. See, you assume you're on a client status call, and there is a decision that they are asking, we need this to be completed within the stipulated timelines in the scope. You
Correct.
should have a firm decision making skill at that point in time. Tell them that what is the actual fact, and that is really really important, the decision making skill. And one more thing very important is leadership skill. There is a very there is a great difference, I would say, between being a leader and being a manager. Like, being a leader is what is much much wanted, because when you lead, it is like people actually will follow you. Like, when I that's what when I say that I get inspired by my project managers, whoever I work with. If I see, oh, that's a nice skill, if I feel that, I try to adopt their good skills. So that is how I mold myself. If I see that, no, I don't like this type of skill my project manager has, then I'll try to see I don't exhibit the same to my team. So I remove that. So this is how I carve or mold myself, and that way leadership skill is really important, so that you will know you can lead your team well, and then you can motivate your team and you can guide the team, because team needs a guide or a mentor only. They don't want a person with a stick saying you're not doing right, not like that. They wanted a person who's actually very supportive to you. And sometimes you have to wear your manager hat as well, because there are some hard decisions you have to take. That time definitely we have to wear the manager hat, but most of the times we have to wear the leadership hat, where we say that team actually gets inspired by the way we move things and handle things.
Correct. Similarly, on the other note, what are the different technical skills we must possess as a project manager or somebody who would like to become a project manager at the very beginning stage? We have, when we say technical, we have some bookie knowledge, we have some tools to learn about, right? So, what are the different technical skills we should possess?
Okay, yeah. So, as I told you, first of all, whoever is entering into this project manager should definitely take up the project management certification. So, because of that, everything you'll be learning, starting from how you're going to handle your team, handling your stakeholders, then how you're going to train your team. From there, again, if suppose yours is an agile project, you should be well versed in agile methodology. Without knowing how agile methodology works, you cannot manage an agile team. You should know how the team works, so that you'll be very flexible to the customers ask, and you'll be able to embrace the changes. So you have to know agile skill as well. Okay. And apart from that, definitely you should be knowing the softwares. Like, if suppose you're working in a traditional, you should be knowing your Microsoft project or Trello or Asanas, right? It is not that everything is needed, just one software if you're familiar. Because when you come up with a project plan, you need to know whether you're able to stick by that schedule, cost and things. So all those you can't manage and maintain in simple Excel or something. So in that case, the tool knowledge is really helpful. Similarly, if you're going to manage an agile project, definitely you should be knowing about Jira, Confluence, all these things, so that you know the tactics of how you're going to manage a team, and these tools is going to help you to see whether you're able to maintain everything and monitor and control, to see whether the all your current activities goes as per the plan or not, or if some deviations is there, what quick action to be taken. So for all these things, these tools is going to be really helpful for you. And if suppose your team is Java's team, and in that case your technical knowledge on Java is also, it is better to have that, so that when team comes up with some constraints or some issues, you should have that background knowledge, okay, what they're speaking about, so that you can able to understand what it is, and you can communicate or discuss with the customer as well. So for that, even your team's technical knowledge, if you're possessing, it is a much added advantage for you. That's why people look for Java technical project managers or something like that, they will be looking for.
Yeah. So, Again, here I would like to understand one thing. Now, there is small confusion between project manager or a technical project manager, right? When we see most of the time, companies have the tagline technical project manager who has technical experience along with their functional project manager experience, right? So when we come towards the job role, so what's the basic difference between technical project manager or functional project manager? How do you differentiate both of this?
Okay, when you say the tech, see, as I told you, because technical project manager in the sense, sometimes he will be, he should have that possess that knowledge to handle that team. Because, say, for example, if team says that, see, these activities, it will take 10 to 15 days, you should have that knowledge, and only then you can tell with your experience, say, okay, we can have these additional placeholders so that you can complete within 5 days. Without the knowledge in the technical area, you cannot assist your team there. So that is where the technical knowledge plays a very vital role. See, like it is something like a demarcation that you have in your like a business analyst also, you could say, right? There are functional business analysts as well as the technical BAs are there.
Business
So
analyst.
it, yes, but now when we say it is not a general project manager can definitely cannot take up the technical project manager role there. But it is the other way, a technical project who's sound in a particular technology, this technical project manager can play a role of general project manager in any other domains or industries as well.
Correct. Now, to conclude here, anyone who is working in this software development industry or software testing or DevOps, anything, certainly you can apply for a technical project manager role. But provided to that, along with your technical skill, you must learn about project management. That's very important. For that, along with your current knowledge, you take some of the available certifications like PMP, Prince2, or CPAM, anything that you have. But you must polish one of the certifications to have the overall theoretical knowledge which will add on to your technical project management skills. So here you will be working as a technical guy who has the SME expertise along with the functional project manager. You will be working as a duo. Both technical as well as the functional role of it. Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Now moving towards one of the difficult things is the challenge. Every time being a project manager, we face a lot of challenges. Starting from juggling with timelines, your strict deadlines, conflict stakeholders, resource management, conflict resolution. Now, when we talk about these challenges, what are the different challenges you have faced as of now? Now, that's the first one. To embed to this one, you have transitioned from a technical role to a project manager role, right? So, what are the different challenges you are currently facing, or you have faced, and how did you overcome that?
That's a good question. Yeah. It is like not every job is easy and not every role is easy. Everything has day to day
Correct.
challenges. Okay. It is like a day to day challenges, some are longer challenges to overcome, like that. See, first of all, handling the stakeholders. See, when you say stakeholders, it can be your senior managers or the clients, the end users we are facing. Everybody comes into the stakeholder list. So managing stakeholders is such a crucial thing. Like for example,
Correct.
when I was a business analyst or the doing the product owner role at that time, what happened is uh, I had to freeze the requirements or finalize the scope. Okay, so for that I have to set up a meeting with the stakeholder and get their time to conclude things. But that stakeholder is kind of a resistant stakeholder. Resistant in the sense, it is not that he is resistant towards me, but it is like he is very busy and he cannot give the time to meet at all. But without the time for meeting, it is not easy for me to freeze the requirements. It is like a deadlock situation. So what I did is, when I set up the meeting, I went through the project and told that these are the understanding of my project, and these are the open questions that I have. I would like to have a meeting with you to discuss on these open questions. In that detailed way, I wrote a note. Seeing that email, immediately I my meeting invite got accepted, because usually it doesn't get accepted. the, when I had a conversation with a particular stakeholder, then I got all the information, everything. And my stakeholder, she was saying that, see, usually people come to me just with open minds, say this is the requirement, give me the requirement, like that the questions will be. Since you have done so much of research and you have come up, I thought that definitely I should give my experience towards you, and I have to give the time so that you can actually close your requirements sooner. See, when people see that we are putting an additional effort, efforts, they feel that it is like valuing, I'm valuing her effort or time. And that is where she was very open, and she was able to give me the things quickly in that 30 minutes time, and we were able to close it. So what is the learning here is that just don't go to a meeting without any agenda. Do some research or background work. Okay, gather that knowledge. So the people should know, because only when you gather that knowledge, you will know what to ask, and when they explain you, you will have the questions surrounding, and you can address it in the same meeting. Otherwise, take back those questions, you again research, set another meeting. It is like a follow-up chain that goes on. So that's what, this is how I handle my stakeholders. I do some homeworks or exercises, and then I take it to them, so that they will feel in a, like they will become from resistant stakeholders to supportive stakeholders, I would say. That is how I handle my
Correct.
stakeholders. Hmm.
Again, from this particular situation, what I have learned, what I can draw the points are: one, how important communication is, your written communication. What are the key points that you are mentioning in your agenda, and how you are prioritizing those, meeting points, right? How you set the tone, how formally or professionally you main, you transfer that importance of the communication, so that the stakeholders, they understand the importance of their presence. That's first important thing. Second important thing is you, again, scheduling the meeting, scheduling the sync up meeting, or whatever kind of meetings are very important. You must understand what the different steps. First thing, setting the tone, putting the right questions, adding the right stakeholders to that, and making them understand, okay, why I should join this meeting, right? What is the agenda that we are going to discuss? That's very, very important. Without any agenda, we are not going to discuss anything. So we have to set that prioritization as well as the tone, which will help us to get things done in an easier way. And that's when we can reduce the back and forth as well. Yeah.
Excellent,
Thank you
excellent.
so much
Yeah,
for this one. Yeah.
yeah.
It helped a lot. Now, in project management, when we go for, there are lot of frameworks or lot of methodologies. When we say we have waterfall, we have traditional waterfall, we have a kind of advanced level of waterfall where we have a lot of other phases for that. We have agile, we have scrum, we have kanban, right? New things are coming in. Now, when somebody is entering to this field, what are the basic things that you suggest, or basic principles or methodologies you suggest somebody should learn from the traditional as well as the agile or iterative one?
See, first of all, they should be knowing the demarcation. What is a traditional methodology? What is an agile methodology? And in agile, what are the different things available? Be it the Scrum or be it a Kanban, and then what and hybrid, how we are handling things. First of all these knowledge is essential. So only then, if changes comes in, if they'll know, okay, we are in an agile project, and if changes comes in, they will not be in a strict no mode. They will be able to embrace the change and adapt to it. Actually, they should be very flexible in your agile methodology. That is the well, and in agile, what is the most biggest advantage in being agile is that you don't wait for the results. You see things very quickly, and again, you see the issues also very quickly. It is like failing fast. See, if something
Very
fails,
fast,
you will
exactly.
get
Yeah,
to know immediately, rather than going to a traditional and seeing the end result and failing. So there, all the efforts is in vain, the cost, the time, everything is going. But here, what happens in agile, we are able to see it, and then we are able to take a quick measure, like how we can handle it out. So that is one best advantage of agile. And nowadays, like everything is moving towards agile. So people should be definitely knowing what is agile and how we can achieve the agile methodology. It can be a scrum or a kanban, because it's like not like um, everywhere we can apply scrum or everywhere we can apply kanban. It is like few projects kanban operations or some manufacturing, it has to go only through kanban. Some few software projects like research or something, it should definitely go with an scrum methodology. So people should know. How they will know is through learning, because only when they learn things, okay, they will know, okay, when a new project comes in, and they will figure out, okay, let me take it to a traditional way, or let me handle it in a hybrid fashion. So they will be able to handle things in this way.
correct. Now, one question is very debatable here. We have various kinds of project in the software world. You know, some are very research oriented, where we need to spend a lot of multiple years to that, in terms of building the requirements or the context or the scope. We don't know how our next year will be. For that, we have to be very competitive. We do the market analysis and everything. Now, such important projects, can we go ahead and follow the agile approach? If yes, then what advantages will get compared to waterfall or agile?
See, when you say research projects, see, they are like we have to definitely follow an iterative methodology there, because in iterative you have to be, you're working on a perfection. It cannot go something with a failure model at all. So you
Right.
just do some, build some features, and then again work towards the perfection, whether get the feedback, whether how it is, and again work towards it incrementally. You're doing things there incrementally, in the sense like iteratively you're building it and you're working towards a perfection. But what happens in a traditional, if you adopt a traditional for this kind of projects, is you cannot you get to know the feedback only towards the end, maybe the 1 year or 2 year long project. At the end only you'll get to know. By the time everything would have been implemented, again we need to reinitiate a new project to accommodate the changes. If suppose you felt that this changes should have been there, but in an iterative you will be getting that feedback and you'll be working towards a perfection. So there we have to definitely follow the agile methodology, and in agile you can follow the iterative one.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Now, again, let's say we have a project, where we have a team, but nobody is there to guide us through the agile methodology. In that situation, you being a entry level project manager, what would be your approach? How do you overcome that situation? Because never you are an entry level project manager. You never worked on this kind of methodology or the framework. You don't know the principles, right? The only thing is whatever. But being a entry level project manager, how do you overcome this situation? What would be your strategy for this?
Okay, assume that even I am not unaware of the process. Okay, then what I do is I go with an expert judgment. What is an expert judgment means? Simple. See, I would have my colleagues. For example, if Sunil is my I mean my colleague, I don't hesitate to ask Sunil. First of all, what I would say is, people sometimes think that, see, being a project manager asking, you don't know agile, what if Sunil asks me this question? I'll have this question in mind, right? Break it out, break that barrier and ask that question and get that help. Once you ask that question, then it is like you're getting that knowledge only once. You were not without that knowledge. But if you go on and travel with an assumptions, what happens is you just keep doing things in a wrong way with that assumption note. So always don't
Correct.
hesitate to ask for help, ask for guidance. Okay, next one is as networking is really important. See, if suppose you're not my project manager but I know you through LinkedIn, I will say I will not hesitate to reach out to you. Sometimes you might be busy or sometimes you might be very helpful to me. So Sunil, this kind of project I'm handling, you can you please suggest me? I would like to have a quick meeting, 20 minutes meeting with you, something like that. You with the networking, you can make it things right. And suppose you have a agile coach in your organization, but agile coach is little busy. Sometimes try to get their time, and I will learn things so that I can do it. If suppose I can't get a agile coach separately for my team, so with that I will try to bring in these agile practices for my team. So like that we can take
Correct.
up the helping hands, but never hesitate to take that helping hand.
Correct. It's very important to ask for help. Until you ask, nobody is going to help you. But when you
Correct.
open up and you ask, definitely you have to leverage your network. So in networking, like professional platforms like LinkedIn. Secondly, your colleagues, your manager, your supervisor. You have to reach out to them. That's a great one. So now we discussed about a lot of things about project management, and so I would like to emphasize that one of the critical parameter for a project is scope. As we started discussing about a lot of things about project management, so scope is very critical for any project. Now, how do you define scope? What would be your strategy? When you meet a critical stakeholder, you don't know about anything, so you are just starting. Now, what would be your strategies to outline the scope in a precise way?
Okay. Yeah. Because first of all, we should know what is the outcomes that is required for the project. Okay. You should know that high level outcome. Only then you'll be able to work on the detailed requirements and you have to finalize the scope. See, requirements is nothing but what is the need of your stakeholder. That is what is the requirement. But when you say scope means it is like what are all the activities that you need to do so that you can achieve your requirement, that you can define it as a scope. See, now scope defining your scope is really important. Reason is, what happens is whenever there is additional requirements or something comes in, that is where we will try to squeeze in that additional requirement and then end up with an additional time, cost, resources, everything. So first of all, we need to outline what is the scope, and when we connect with the customers, we have to discuss with them and we have to see whether there is anything that is getting missed in a scope that we have identified. So with that, we are actually identifying the scope items, as well as we are telling them or restricting them, saying these are the out of scope items. So when we define those out of scope items, the stakeholders get to know, okay, these we are not covering. At that point in time, they might open up saying, no, no, this has to be part of the scope. So when they define it that way, when the scope is defined, when the clear scope is defined, definitely you will have a better understanding of how much resource is required and cost and time is required. If that is not defined appropriately, what happens, changes comes in as and then, and you will not be able to freeze, because already you would have implemented a scope, there will be a change in that item itself, you have to rework on that item. So that is where the scope, you as a project manager, it's your role to ensure that scope creep doesn't happen. Maybe for people who are not aware of, scope creep is nothing but when you're deviating from the whatever the initial scope that is given, or if an additional requirements is given, that is what is scope creep. So you have to ensure that you document everything and you baseline your scope, so that people will actually, whenever some changes comes in, again, if it is a tradition, just go back with to your change control board and operate it like, what are the impact, whether is there any deviations, or what is the quality impact, risk impact. Do all those analysis, and then only you will be taking care of that particular change in scope. And if it is an agile, now we again have to see whether it is impacting my current sprint or it is impacting my overall project. Then you have to take a call accordingly based on your agile or your traditional project.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, that's a great approach. But one thing, again, to conclude here, every time keep monitoring things. This is one
Absolutely.
of the live document that you have. You have to keep maintaining in case if it is a sprint or agile or waterfall. Either of the cases, you have to have a strong documentation and never put procrastination in terms of doing this scoop management or anything. Keep tracking actively. That's one of the thing I would like to add here. Nice. Now we started discussing with one of the thing called risk. You know, so what exactly are risk according to you, and how do we assess that risk, or do we how do we manage the risks? There's a kind of a small thing about risk management. What's your thought on this?
See, risk is something you, okay, you foresee that, but it does not happen currently, that is simple risk. Okay, because sometimes people will get confused with what is issue and risk. I simply explain my students, my PMP students, saying that issue is something that has happened currently, and risk is a future event that is that you foresee that it can happen. Okay, so
That
first of
means
all,
something negative which is going to happen,
no,
or unpleasant
people,
situation. That's what. Yeah.
you can, that's what people have the misconception, saying risk is always negative impact. But you know that risk has both positive impact as well as
Positive
negative
and
impact.
negative.
Yeah, the
Correct.
threats and the opportunities. Okay, so first of all,
Correct.
people should know that what is risk and how we have to identify the risk. Okay, when you happen to maybe before, okay, let me give you, like, in your projects, first of all, you need to identify what kind of risk can be there. See, for example, what kind of risk in the sense, is there any risk in achieving that particular scope, is there any risk in achieving this timeline? So for this, you have to identify the risk, and as a project manager, as a single handedly, you can't do that. You have to have your team or the subject matter experts in place, and you can do a brainstorming event where you can identify the risk. And again, you could have organizational risk level checklist also be there, see whether all these have been taken care. And once you identify the risk, because identification of the risk is the first important step, next what you need to do is
Correct.
analyze the risk. Analyzing in the sense, you're going to just prioritize the risk based on how, what is the is the high priority risk or it's a medium priority. How are we going to do it? Based on how much impact this risk is going to create, how frequently this risk is going to occur. So based on these two
Correct.
combinations, you're going to prioritize the risk. That is going to be your second step. Now you've prioritized the risk. And you know that this risk can occur, and then you know that these are the high priority risk. Now what we need to do is we have to come up with the risk response, in the sense like how I have to act if suppose, to ensure that this risk does not realize at all. What is the activity you should do so that this risk does not come into the real time project itself. So that is a risk response that you have to execute, so that you don't have the risk at all happening in place. You taken that measures, okay, but still there might be some situation where some additional risk occurs, right? That is where your contingency plan plays a vital role. Contingency plan is nothing but it's like a secondary backup plan. Okay, assume you have your see now for our meeting, I have my electricity, everything is on. Okay, but what if the power goes? My inverter is there. That is my backup plan, right? That is simply a contingency plan. So come up with a contingency plan for each of the risk. Okay, and when are we going to execute this contingency risk or contingency response plan is nothing but when you see a trigger condition. Okay, trigger condition maybe like just to, so that people and project managers should know all these. That's why I'm putting in all these terms. Okay, trigger is nothing but, assume I told you that when there is a power breakup for me, inverter is going to help me out. How will I know there's going to be a power breakup? Assume the voltage is fluctuating, I will come to know, okay, there's going to be a power breakup, something like that. So that is a trigger condition. It tells me or gives me an alarm saying some event is going to occur, some risk is going to occur. When I see the trigger, immediately I ensure that whether the inverter backup is there or not, whether the inverter is turned on or not. So this is what I have to do in my real time project as well. So that when you think that this can happen and this can impact your timelines and costs, ensure or take steps such a way that this risk doesn't occur. So that when it comes in as issue means what, it's something you have to definitely do. It's going to impact your metrics, whether the time metrics or the cost or everything, resources, everything is going to impact,
Any
right?
of the mention,
And
yeah.
yes, so and then you need to do, like you have to see based on the priority of the risk, you have to see whether you can completely eliminate the risk or you can reduce the impact of the risk, or how are we going to accept the risk and plan for it. Like that you need to come up with the different risk strategies. And if you're going to accept it, what I'll do, I will come up with the contingency reserve when I'm coming up with my plan itself. Contingency reserve is that accommodating all these additional things in during your plan, so that your cost baseline everything has this buffer also. Okay, so that is how you need to plan all these in your project management as well.
Correct. So just now I've seen a comment, in the list. So whether risk is good or bad, as we started discussing, we have both the verticals. We have positive risk, we have negative risk. When we dig deeper into this one, right? So sometimes when we see the positive risks, we would say it's good. It's not, kind of every time risk is not bad. As you mentioned, it's risk is also the impediments. I can see. Uh,
Actually, risk is a bigger topic. Okay, if we speak, if we can speak one, because
exactly,
I've just
exactly,
told
yeah.
the things. But people have the misconception thinking that risk can only create a negative impact. It is not that way. See, risk is nothing but it's a future event. It can have a positive impact and negative impact. Sometimes risk can bring up opportunities also. So in that case, we have to ensure that we are getting those opportunities into our hands, so that we get the maximum potential. Assume that I'm handling a project, okay, and they are saying that if you handle this project well, we'll give you some two more projects. Okay, is this a positive impact or a negative impact? Definitely it's a positive impact when I'm going to get two more projects in hand. So this is an opportunity. So here it's an opportunity, so I should make use of steps to give the 100 percentage. This opportunity should get realized, so that if I handle this project, I'll get two more projects. Getting those two more projects is a revenue for my company, and that is where I have to take steps to materialize, or realistically this I have to achieve this opportunity. So I have to take those strategies and adopt those things. As I told you, risk
Certainly.
is a bigger
But
topic, an
when we
interesting
are
topic.
correct, yeah, yeah. So when we go along the journey, let's say when you triggered with, okay, I'll get two more projects, certainly there will be, certain limit of learning curves involved. And you have to make your own short analysis to understand what sort of strengths you have, weaknesses you have. According to your strengths, what opportunities you can gain, and according to your weakness, how can you overcome? so that the threats, the list of threats that you have, which will not impact. Definitely, it's a
Exactly.
positive one, but why, during the go, certainly you will have some of the risks. Again, you have to mitigate, right? We don't know what will happen in the future, so you have to be ready, and accordingly, you have to overcome your weaknesses.
Yes.
Correct. Now, I think we are approaching the time. We have 10 minutes. However, before we close, I would like to discuss the final thing about. We have a lot of talks about the agile, or the benefits of agile over the traditional methodology. Now, to someone, when you explain what are the different advantages we have utilizing agile over the traditional methodologies.
See, as I told you, you can actually get the user feedback or the customer's feedback very quickly in your agile methodology. It doesn't mean that I can complete the project quicker in agile. It doesn't mean that. Assume I'm taking a project, I'm going with the traditional. It takes 1 year. Again, for agile also it takes 1 year. But what am I doing here? I am launching the features step by step, incrementally, so that every time one particular feature is launched, I can see that particular how it is working. Let me give you a very practical example. Okay, assume you have a WhatsApp application. WhatsApp, we have, everybody uses WhatsApp, right? So in WhatsApp, there are different things: WhatsApp call, messages, status, like that. Instead of launching everything in one go after 1 year, what am I doing? First they launched messages, then WhatsApp call, then WhatsApp video call. Launching it in a monthly or incrementally. Then WhatsApp status was launched,
Iteratively, correct.
24, and now we have WhatsApp community in picture. What happened if I've
Correct.
launched everything in 1 year? There would have been a snapshot or something coming into the picture, and WhatsApp would have lost its market itself. Correct. By the time all these features, they are saying, hey, we are coming with a very beautiful features, very new features. But when by the time people taste that, they would have actually used some other apps, and when WhatsApp comes, it's outdated, they would feel it. So rather,
Correct.
in those cases, you have to go with an agile methodology. But it is not always that we have to go with agile, because there are few projects, okay, which always has to go with traditional, where the cost of the project is more, or when the resourcing, all the material cost is more. In construction industries, mostly we will be going with traditionally. We cannot adapt or embrace
Traditional.
agile over there. So we have to
Correct.
see where we have to go, and agile has its own advantage, as I told you. You can see, get the feedback, and you can see, you can feel the product or feel the feature very sooner. That is the advantage of using your agile.
Correct. Now there are certain things. So when we are working on kind of data migration project, I'll take an example. So here you may go for agile or waterfall based upon the risk level or the complexity of the project. When you are dealing with real time data that you have in your production, you cannot play around like agile principles or iterative methods, right? Certainly you have to plan carefully utilizing our traditional methodology. But yeah, when you have opportunity to play around with the market, you would like to taste the flavors and whatever the functionality you have, you would like to send it to the market and take customer review whether it's working or not and what kind of improvements we need to make. Certainly you can utilize the agile methodology over there. Yeah. Okay, now it's 8 minutes left before we close. What suggestion or thoughts you would like to give to all the entry level project managers, those who are kind of aspiring project managers that would like to start their journey? So, as a nutshell, what would you like to tell them? How would you encourage them to come to project management or build a career in project management?
Great, great. Very good question, Sunil, because it is must needed. People will know, like, I want to become a project manager, or I want to, what I want to do. Like that, the question is. As I was telling you earlier, definitely project management knowledge is required. So for that, either CAPM or PMP knowledge, getting that certification is much, much important. Okay. And next one is, what I would suggest is reading the blogs. Okay, see, for example, or being active in LinkedIn, getting, because there are many people who are writing beautiful blogs. Okay, even Sunil, I would actually, I admired your post. Okay, I mean, frankly speaking, initially you have been writing posts, right? It'll be in a so detailed manner, Sunil. I like the way you narrated things, you gave it an examples. It was so good to read. So in that way, it is like you're not having a reading habit just like a separate activity. like just you're checking your WhatsApp message. See, I'll tell my routine. When I wake up in the morning, I just check any WhatsApp messages there, emails are there, not official emails. Okay, if I check that, it will take a longer time. I'll quickly check the
Correct, correct.
LinkedIn notification, or maybe 15 to 20 minutes notifications and post something like that. Sometimes when come through blogs, no, I don't park this as a separate activity. By act, it goes like just to a day-to-day routine, and I learn things. It's like every day somehow or the other I learn through new concepts, or I just like I enrich my knowledge by reading such blogs. Okay, that is one another step. Subscribing to the blogs, and then attending the project management conferences or webinars. Become a PMI member and become in your particular locality, either Bangalore, Chennai, whatever it is. You'll have some events happening. Ensure that you plan to attend those webinars and conferences. See, sometimes you are just learning, you're not contributing. It's okay. At that point, you will have a good networking contact, and it's also you'll be learning from others' experience. This is kind of a big forum where you can learn from others' experience, see how things are happening, and then you can try and inculcate those practices in your projects. So this is how you can actually become, I would say these are the better ways for you to become as a good project manager.
This sounds good. So we have one comment here I was going through. The comment is difference between MVP, the minimum viable product, versus MMP, minimal marketable product.
Hmm.
So would you like to share some thoughts in a minute or two?
Maybe the, yeah, see,
And I think it
minimum.
is asked by Rajashekar.
Okay. See, it is all more about maybe people are going into the project management. It's okay. I'm happy to
Project
help.
exactly. But yeah,
Yeah, that's nice. So I would want you to, maybe you can send me a private message so that we can discuss this topic in detail. But for quickly, we can tell now. Okay. So minimum viable product is that without, it's like a bare minimum feature that is really required for you to launch the product. For example, assume you're having a cell phone as a product. Okay. With that hardware in place, can I launch the product? No. I should
no.
definitely have any one feature, either a WhatsApp feature or a calling feature, something should be there. So that is the bare minimum feature with which it's a workable product. That is your minimum viable product. And MMP, minimum marketable product, in the sense, see, it is like adding, it should add value to your product. And because of that, you should get some business value. So that you can call it as a minimum marketable product. Like say, that should increase the business value so that you will get some returns from it. That is going to be your, and MVP is basically you're doing MVP just to get the feedback and making your presence in the market. So for that purpose, we launch it immediately with an MVP product. I'm
Correct.
not sure if
Now
I've answered
again
you,
to give
Rajshekar.
you,
Yeah, we can connect
yeah,
later if it's
exactly.
detailed.
To
Yes.
this one, let's say you as a Rajashekar, as a customer, you would like to launch a chat application, okay, a social media platform. Let's say you are would like to compete with Meta. You would like to have a application like Facebook. Then whatever Facebook or similar platforms has, if you would like to launch an application similar to that, the minimal viable product is the basic feature whatever a chat application should have or a social media platform should have. Those with those functionalities we are launching, it should be a minimum viable product. Now marketable product is nothing but something additional to that if we are launching, which will able to compete with your competitors, like additional one or two feature. That could be, I would say, it's a minimal marketable product. Viable is nothing but your application or your product must possess all the basic needs or the basic things that should have. That's the minimal viable product. Without that, you can't launch your product, or people cannot accept that as a product from that business background. Okay? And when we say marketable product, it has to have some of the basic features or some of the unique feature which should compete with your competition, your competitors. So that's a small discussion, but again, certainly you can please DM Gajesh so that we can continue with the discussion on this. Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting discussion today that we have. And before we conclude, let me quickly cross check if we have any other comments here. Yes, there is. He mentioned something. Risk is equal to impediments. That is possible. Certainly, in some situations when some of the risks can be impediments, when and you can overcome that or resolve that impediment during the go when you go analyze the risk. First, you need to identify. You identified this as an impediment, and when you analyze and you take action on that, during that phase, you have to overcome that one. Some situation you have to brainstorm with your seniors, your SMEs, or required stakeholders to gain more knowledge about that, or some of the contingency plan. You alone as a project manager cannot go and prepare the contingency plan, right? It would create some dependencies, or that solution may or might come from some different cross-functional team, and you will never know. So that's when you have to brainstorm with your other stakeholders and come to that conclusion and overcome these impediments if you have anything. Okay, so I think we all are approaching the time now, and thank you so much, Gaja, for your your time, and you explained each and every topic so nicely with real time examples. That's really commendable. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you for so much for the opportunity. Initially, I thought it's going to be 1 hour. What are we going to discuss? Now I felt as if time is running fast. Oh, it's 1 hour. It's been so quick, I feel. And I don't know how you're managing your work as well as managing these type of show, but it's really a great initiative. Definitely, people are going to subscribe and learn more with these kind of interviews. In fact, I'm actually eagerly attending all the interviews, and it is like a booster for me. It is not that knowledge gaining knowledge, it has to go through it's a continuous learning process. That is again one more a key advice I would give for the aspiring project managers. Thank you so much, Sunil. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this encouraging words, and thanks everyone for your time for watching us. So and stay connected for a new episode again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.